All right, so we're gonna get started with a brief video as more people file in, and then we'll go ahead with our introduction. So hopefully this next couple minutes should give everyone a chance to connect properly before we begin. This video is a couple years old now, so it dates to prior to 2020, and it kind of gives a general overview of what it's like to study at Temple University, Rome, and then we'll talk more specifically about the adult study abroad experience in the webinar to follow.
Buonasera. Good evening, everyone. Ciao a tutti, or buongiorno, as somebody said, because it depends where in the world you're watching this live webinar right now. Ciao a tutti from Rome. We're live. It's 6 p.m. right now in Rome. It must be like noon, around noon in New York time and Philadelphia time. So buongiorno to all of you. And welcome to this Adult Study Abroad Program info session. My name is Johnny. I am the coordinator of the orientation, student activities, and social media here at Temple University, Rome. I love the fact that you're using the chat already. This is great. You can use the chat box. You can write your name, the city where you're from, and a brief explanation of your interest in the adult study abroad if you have it. Otherwise, just let us know where you're from. We would love to hear from you. The chat box, you can also use it throughout all the webinar today to share messages to other attendees or to the panelists, to us, or ask questions. The same thing for the Q&A box to ask a question, or you can raise your hand virtually, and we will try to to see you and to call you at some point. Remember that most of the questions that you might have right now might be answered throughout the webinar. We're going to talk about the whole program, the classes, the city, the costs, the activities, everything. So the dates, deadlines. So keep your questions later on in mind, but you can, jump in the box and ask in the chat box at any time. But now I would like to introduce the staff. This is me. Hello. And then, of course, our coordinator of the Adult Study Abroad program, AJ Fitzgerald. Ciao, AJ.
Ciao,
Thank you for
Johnny.
organizing all this. This is great. But we also today we have Emily Kravitz, our external relations coordinator here at Temple University Rome. But Emily, of course, was also a student here at Temple University Rome and an alumni assistant. And then, of course, from Philadelphia, ciao, Mary Conran, our chief academic officer and assistant professor for Fox School of Business. Ciao, Mary. Thank you for being here today. And thank you very much, everyone, for joining this webinar. We're so excited, right, AJ?
Yeah, we're definitely excited. And Mary, if I could invite you to just say a few words about this program and what it means to Temple Rome, and maybe give a brief introduction to Temple Rome for those of our attendees who aren't familiar with the campus.
I will. Thank you, AJ. So I'm Mary Conran. I'm the Chief Academic Officer, and Temple Rome was founded back in 1966. It started out as the arts program, Tyler. It was named Tyler at Temple Rome. It has since expanded into all areas of the curriculum at Temple University. So we have biology classes, engineering classes, business classes, but we also have a very strong focus on the liberal arts and the studio arts as well. And so the program has continued to evolve, and this is a natural progression to ask adults to come back to Rome if you've been here with us before, or if you've missed an opportunity to study abroad. We think adults make this is a great opportunity for adults to come visit with us and to experience some of that really great transformative experience that happens while you're away for a longer period of time. You're not here as a tourist, you're here as a student, as a learner, as an observer, and it really is quite a magical time. And so we are really excited that the Adult Study Abroad program has garnered interest, and we're happy to expand it this year into 2 cohorts. So is there more information I can provide?
I think that was pretty thorough. Thank you, Mary.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Thank you so much for joining us. So, Johnny, maybe we should start with a brief introduction into what is Adult Study Abroad, the topic of today's webinar. And really the idea, as Mary started to go over, is fairly simple. It's a unique opportunity for learners of all ages, and I've highlighted this because I really want to emphasize this. Some adult learning programs have various restrictions on them. They're only for people over a certain age, over 65, over 50, or only for alumni. Adult Study Abroad is really, it's really open to just about anyone. There are very few restrictions. And if you look, this is our cohort from this past year during our orientation program. We take a trip every semester to the Castle of Titignano in nearby Umbria. Umbria is a beautiful region of Italy just next to Tuscany. And you can see, we had a small cohort in 2021, but we had a cohort that spanned many different age groups. Our youngest participant turned 26 years old during the program, is an alum of Temple University, class of 2017. And our oldest participant actually, believe it or not, will be turning 81 next month. So we had a huge range of ages in this year's program, and we really love that about the first edition of the program, this sort of intergenerational aspect of Adult Study Abroad. Like I said, there are very few restrictions. Basically, anyone who is 21 years of age or older and not currently enrolled in an undergraduate program is eligible to participate in Adult Study Abroad. So the other question, Mary mentioned this earlier, is when is Adult Study Abroad in 2022? In previous years, for those of you who have connected with us, we offered just one cohort of adult study abroad. In 2021, it was originally supposed to be in the late spring, in May and June. And then due to the circumstances that we're all aware of, this program was eventually postponed until the fall, until September and October. And it turned out that it worked out really well in the fall. You could see the weather here when people arrived, shorts and a t-shirt. It was really beautiful, and we were lucky with nice weather throughout the 6 weeks. The fall is a beautiful time to visit Italy. One of the most beautiful times to visit Italy, the other being the late spring before the summer crowds arrived. And so we couldn't decide going forward whether we would offer it in that spring slot in May and June, or the fall slot like we did this year. And in the end, we decided that we would go with both. We have a lot of people interested. If you're checking the registrations here, it looks like we have over 100 participants with us today. So welcome, and thank you for showing your interest in the program. So we want to accommodate as many people as possible who are interested in having this experience. So you can see the dates here. These dates are already on our calendar. So they are confirmed. You can see we have a spring cohort arrival on May 18th, with classes beginning on May 23rd. We have a few days of orientation between the arrival date and the start of classes. And the program ends, well, the last day of the program is June 29th, with participants departing June 30th. Of course, you can extend your stay if you like. This past year, we had people who came early, left late. You can stay up to 90 days in the Shenzhen region in Italy and Europe without applying for a special visa. So you're certainly welcome to continue your travels before or after studying with us. And then we also have some mid-program excursions scheduled. I'll talk more about that later. And in the fall, instead, we're going to arrive on Wednesday, August 31st, with classes beginning on Monday, September 5th, and then finally with departure on Thursday, October 13th. So that is the general schedule for 2022, just so you can mark it on your calendars, kind of save the date. But I want to, before we get into the program details, get into sort of a bigger picture question about studying abroad, and that is, why study abroad in the first place? And second, of all the destinations that you could potentially choose to travel to, why Rome, Italy? And Johnny, maybe you can help us with this question, because you've been working at Temple Rome, I won't say how long, but longer than most people would guess.
AJ, I was a
how long has it been?
25 years.
25 years.
Yes. I love this place. I told you, like, I love Temple Rome. Yes.
So you've seen a lot of people come through these doors, and you've seen the impact that the program has had on them. Maybe you could talk a little bit about what study abroad is, what it means, and why people should think about doing it.
First of all, I just see, like, in the list of the people connected that are students that have been here as an undergrad in the past, and they're thinking about coming back as adults. So this is amazing. And I'm always here, but this is great. I love it. You guys should definitely organize a trip and come back for this program. Why you come back? I mean, why a study abroad program? For so many reasons. First of all, you're not coming here as a tourist anymore. Your week, your 10 days in Rome. You're staying for 6 weeks. So you're not going to be tourists anymore. You're going to be leaving the city. You're going to go out in the morning to go to your, living in the Prati. That's actually great, AJ. You want to show like the map? So you see Temple University is right there. Usually you get an apartment in Prati area, which is between the Vatican and the Castel Sant'Angelo and Piazza del Popolo. It's a very useful area, very close to Temple University Road, very close to the central area. It's a great, because throughout your semester here, your 6 weeks, you're going to be out in the morning, going to your favorite bar, get your cappuccino, you're going to class, you're going to a routine, you're starting to get to know Rome from a different point of view, not just as a tourist for a week or 10 days, but more behind, because in 6 weeks, you're going to be learning more and more about the city, about Italy, because you're going to be traveling also all over Italy, meeting new people, because you're going to be part of a group, of course, together with other adults, but also we're going to talk in a minute because we're going to have some activities together with the undergrad. And it's the whole experience of finally leaving the city of Rome, living in your apartment, in your neighborhood. So I think, as you can see from this, some of these photos right here, the first one on the left, I think it was one of the activities, one of the tour during your semester here. The other one as well, at the Vatican.
Yeah, Johnny, if you want, I can explain the pictures.
Yes, please go ahead. Yes, you
just
were
so we
there,
know
actually.
what we're looking at. Just this is actually a trip to Pompeii that we did as a group, and I'll talk more about that trip later on. This was from a visit to St. Peter's Basilica with one of our faculty members. This is us walking out towards, we had an aperitivo scheduled after the tour. And these two photos are again from that orientation trip in Umbria. We eat in the medieval castle, and we had a great room for the adult study abroad group. And we had a little aperitivo outside before. And I think these pictures together start to help give a sense of why, oh, sorry, I think Johnny may still be spotlighted. Why, why you might want to do an experience like this in the first place. In addition to all the great things that Johnny mentioned in terms of why study abroad, you know, in talking to my students, because in addition to running this program, I also actually teach a few classes here at Temple Rome, and I get to see, you know, the impact that the experience has on my own students. I think there are two big reasons that someone might want to study abroad. One, I think it's very exciting to travel to a new place and get a new perspective on how people live and do things on the other side of the world. Two, I think what's really important and what's been really important to me in my years living abroad now, I'm originally from the suburbs of New York City. I've been living in Italy for 5 years, actually, this fall it's been. And one of the great things for me has been the perspective it's given me, not just on the new place I've moved to, but also on where I've come from. I feel like I can look back on my own beginnings, my own origins, my own country, my own language, etc., with a fresh set of eyes. And it's been an enormous part of my personal development. It really has been, for me, a life-changing experience, and we hope that it can be life-changing also for many of our students. Like Johnny said, we're very central. We'll talk more about the campus in a second, but I see in the chat, there's already people asking a question that's going to be on almost everyone's mind, of course. We're still in the middle of the worldwide pandemic. Everyone knows this. Naturally, many people probably have not been traveling internationally, even thinking about traveling internationally for a long time. So the first thing, before we get into the details, I want to address these concerns right away and talk about the situation here in Rome, because I'm sure so many people are wondering about it. So the first thing I'd like to show you is this. This comes from the Italian Ministry of Health website. They've been really good at publishing data throughout the pandemic, dating all the way back to the beginning with testing and case data and things like this. This is the vaccine report for the nation of Italy. If you look down here, you can see it's in Italian, so you'll have to trust my translation, but this is approximately 84% of the population age 12 and over. That is the population eligible to receive the vaccine in Italy. I know in the United States, they recently approved the vaccine for children age 5 to 11. We're still waiting for that approval here in Europe, but for now, of the population age 12 and over, so this is not just adults 18 and over, but actually including kids as young as 12, 84% of the population in the whole country are fully vaccinated as of today. I know this looks like it's September 11th, but actually it's the European date format. So this is from today, November 9th. Whereas almost 87% have received at least one dose. Now I want to also mention that the region of Lazio, where Rome is located, is actually above the national average. It's actually one of the best regions in Italy in terms of the vaccine campaign. When I checked today, 87%, or rather 86.97% of the region, the population over the age of 12 was fully vaccinated. And nationally, you see we have a difference of about 3% between people who are fully vaccinated and those waiting for their second dose. So in Lazio, I don't have the exact number for people who are waiting for the second dose, but we can imagine that it's pretty close to 90% of the population of the region of Lazio has gotten at least one dose as of today. But the official number is 86.97% are fully vaccinated in Lazio over the age of 12 as of today. I want to talk about some of the other measures that are in place because it's not just the vaccine. So I have here a little slide talking about the public health measures currently in force here in Italy. And I have an asterisk on current because as we've seen over the past few years, these measures can change even on fairly short notice. So I want to mention that there's a lot of time between now and May when the first program will happen. So it's hard for us to tell which measures may still be in force by next spring, but I just want to give you a sense of what it's like in Italy now. As of today, vaccination and a negative test is required to enter the country as a tourist from the United States without quarantining. You need to, it's not enough to just have the vaccination card right now. You also need to get a test even if you're fully vaccinated. In addition, there's a national mask mandate in place for public indoor spaces and also for select outdoor spaces that have really big crowds, like outdoor events and in stadiums, things like that. In addition, the European Green Pass is required now to access university facilities. I bolded this because it includes Temple University Rome. Long distance transportation, such as high-speed trains and flights, museums and cultural sites, even those that are outdoors, such as the Colosseum, Pompeii, etc., indoor dining, theaters, movie theaters, events, etc. What is the Green Pass? It's kind of like the European CDC card, I suppose, except it is digital. It has a QR code. It works throughout Europe. It basically is either a vaccine record, a negative test taken within the last 48 hours, or certificate of recovery. As an American tourist in Rome, you will be able to use your CDC card as equivalent to the European Green Pass. So you will not be denied entry at any of these museums, restaurants, etc., because you don't have the QR code. We've been dealing with this with our students all semester. 99% of our student population is vaccinated. Of course, there are always some exceptions. We also have sometimes, you know, with international student populations, we have tricky things in terms of which vaccines get recognized where, but for the most part, everyone at Temple Rome is vaccinated. And we have people using vaccine records from the United States, other places, and there are measures in place where that American vaccination record is considered equivalent to the European Green Pass. So I don't want you to be worried about getting denied entry after coming all the way over here. And also rapid testing is widely available. Should you ever feel you need it, you can get it at just about any pharmacy, and it's been fixed at a price of 15 euros for those rapid antigen tests. Here on campus, we have measures still in place. Obviously, we have a mask requirement on masks required on campus and in classrooms. They're required in all indoor spaces throughout the country. We have social distancing in place. You know, we still have limits, upper limits on how many people can be in a given classroom or a given space. Like I said before, you need to present a green pass in order to enter the building, and also we have temperature checks at the entrances to our building. So I hope that at least addresses most of the concerns that people have regarding public health and safety, and we're certainly happy to answer more questions. There's a lot of people on the webinar today, so we're gonna try to get through as much content as we can and then maybe address questions you might have towards the end of the webinar. So make sure to have your questions ready, and we're gonna be sure to dedicate some time at the end where you can ask questions not only to us that are here on the panel, but we're actually gonna be joined from some alumni of the 2021 program. So you can actually talk to people who just went through the experience literally a few weeks ago and get their opinion on how things went. So that'll be really exciting too. So Johnny, I guess we've been talking a lot about public health and the abstract about why we should study abroad, but now I guess we should also just talk about the details, right? Like what is actually included.
Exactly, Jay, because we have also a lot of questions over there. They're asking. So let's
really
get into, yes, they're asking if 6 weeks the duration is the 6 weeks, it can go through 3 or 4. That's maybe a question for you. And then also about classes. Let's go into this.
Well, we'll cover the classes, so let's get into that.
Exactly.
Here are the basic details of the current program. We're always looking to expand it. The program is 6 weeks in duration. We feel strongly about this because it's a study abroad experience. It's not necessarily a vacation experience. It's a little bit different. However, we are thinking about, for those who can't make 6 weeks, we know it's a big commitment. In future years, we are considering introducing a shorter version of the program. We're just not able to do that in 2022, but maybe in 2023, we could do that. And it's something we've been talking about quite seriously as a staff. So I just want to put that out there. As of right now, Adult Study Abroad is a 6-week duration. Rome is your classroom. For everything we do at Temple Rome, we really focus on the experiential nature of the learning, meaning we don't want you to come all the way to Rome just to sit in a classroom that looks exactly like one you might find on main campus in Philadelphia. We want to get you out in the city, out at the cultural sites, in the museums, and a lot of your lessons and lectures will take place on site, because what better way to learn than having an expert in the field explaining the history, explaining the cultural context, explaining these things to you with the actual artifacts or the actual archaeological site right there to walk through and touch and look at. Classes are held Monday through Thursday. So that means if you have plans to explore Italy, other parts of Italy while you're here, you want to take weekend trips, etc., we think that this schedule allows you the maximum flexibility to do that. And of course, all the classes are taught by the same Temple Rome faculty. So those are the basic details. And now I know there's a question about classes, so we want to go through the classes that are offered in the Temple and the Adult Study Abroad program. It's a little bit different than some of the adult learning programs on main campus, such as Senior Scholars, where you choose from the full catalog of undergraduate courses and insert yourself in undergraduate classes. Adult Study Abroad at Temple Rome consists of a base program, which is these 3 elements we'll talk about in a second, and a few supplemental program options. The base program consists of a Highlights of Rome course, Italian Language and Culture course, and weekly extracurricular activities. And don't worry, we'll talk about these in detail on the next slide. And then there are supplemental courses that you can add depending on time constraints, how much time you have, how much time you want to commit. And then there's an optional group trip. I showed a quick picture from Pompeii earlier in which you say, listen, I don't want to think about any of the logistics. You guys pick me up on Friday, drop me off on Sunday, and show me a good time in between. And if you want, we can do that for the group. And I think we were successful this past year. To give you a more concrete idea, this is the actual schedule from Adult Study Abroad 2021. It doesn't mean that the schedule next year will be exactly the same. In fact, we already have some changes planned. But you can see we had the Italian Language and Culture class meeting twice a week in the morning. We're probably going to split it up next year. It's probably going to meet 3 times a week next year, but maybe shorter meetings, something we've talked about. And Highlights of Rome met Tuesday, Thursday in the afternoon. As much as we can, we're going to try to have most of the base coursework in the mornings if possible. But the scheduling, unfortunately, it always depends on faculty availability and sometimes classroom availability as well. So I'm not able to give you the exact schedule right now, but this is a general idea of how the week might be organized. This was an optional course, Neighborhoods of Modern Rome. I'll talk about that later. And that's slotted into one of the empty spots Tuesday morning. And then we had those extracurricular events, usually on Wednesday nights. And we had a really cool event program this year, which Johnny's going to be able to talk to us on another, tell us about on another slide. So these courses, again, we have Highlights of Rome. This is a broad survey of sort of archaeology, art history, classics, history, starting from the Etruscan period, which is a pre-Roman society, going all the way through ancient Rome, the medieval period, the Renaissance, and the Baroque period. Obviously, in 6 weeks, there's only so much we can cover. It's a broad introductory survey, but we think it gives you a really great perspective for how the city has changed and evolved over the years. And this course is very experiential, meaning all of your lessons are going to be on site. And you can see this is one of the final classes that we had this year at the Vatican Museums with Professor Rob Huber here. This is in the map room of the Vatican museums. And you can see, actually, this is Roberta, who will be joining us later in the webinar. The next class is our Italian language and culture course. This is typically an introductory level Italian course, although depending on demand, we can separate the group into an introductory group and a more intermediate or advanced group. It's not just a language course, though. It's also about Italian culture. Our Italian professors are some of the most popular professors we have on campus. And besides from the passion that they have for their jobs, the reason for that is because they're really the best connection in a lot of ways that our students have to Italian culture, Italian society, learning about what daily life is like in Italy. And this course is designed with that in mind. So there are going to be classroom components in which you learn the basics of the language, but there will also be experiential components in which you learn hands-on how the language and culture interact. And so here's just a little photo from GT. She's known by one name, like Beyonce on campus. One of our most popular Italian professors. This was in the classroom session, but we also have an experiential aspect of the cultural labs. Johnny, maybe you could talk about some of those experiences that our Italian professors do in the cultural labs.
So, for example, GT, that was great. Like they usually go to different places, either the market. So they go to an open air market and they start talking about, life in a market, from the name of the fruits, of vegetable, how much does cost, how do the Italians go shopping, or there's so many other type of cultural labs that adults will participate. What else did GT did at this time with the adults, AJ? They went to a market.
They did the food tour.
The food tour, Mary, right? Do you want to
Street
say
food
something?
tour.
Yes, that was actually great. Mary, do you want to say a few words about the food tour?
Well, there's Italian food, and then there's GT's view of Italian food. So really getting into the idea of street food and something that is so classically Roman, whether it's cacio e pepe or, eating a maratozzi or having being able to order coffee the correct way. It's just really wonderful. And again, our hope is that our participants really get to enjoy feeling like a Roman, feeling like an Italian because of the duration of the experience. So
Exactly.
we try to facilitate that so that you feel comfortable going out on your own.
Exactly. So it's a part of like the language, the use of the Italian language match, with the Italian culture. So, all the maritozzi and the suppli and all the food. Walking around the streets of Rome and looking at these places, going to places.
And not just walking around the streets of Rome. I believe one of the last experiences they did, GT actually invited the students to join her family for a traditional Italian meal. It was a really beautiful experience. Again, maybe Roberta could talk about that later when she joins the call, but from everything I heard, it was really wonderful experience. So again, the Italian course is a mix of classroom learning about the language and experiential learning about Italian culture. And Johnny, maybe you could also tell us a little bit about the extracurricular activities. These are once a week activities that we do as a group. We had lots of great activities on the calendar this year. You coordinate all these activities for our undergraduates each semester. Can you talk about the extracurricular program at Temple Rome?
So yes, we have all these activities for undergrad. Some of these activities will be actually together with the undergrad students, which is great. Some are just dedicated for the adult study abroad program. One of the things is the wine tasting night together with an Italian sommelier, professional sommelier. You're going to discover how the wine is produced, matched with food, paired with food. And then, of course, there will be a tasting of 3 or 4 types of wine. There's also like a cooking class. We're going to go to a professional kitchen where professional chefs will teach on how to make a fresh pasta, the sauce, the tiramisu. And of course, everybody will participate hands-on to make the fresh pasta, the tiramisu, and then at the end, of course, to enjoy what they prepared and eat all together. So some of these activities are like, of course, open to all the adults. For those of you who would like to participate, they're not mandatory, but for those who would like to participate, they're open to our adults. The nice thing that Susan was saying, I remember Susan was saying always talking about participating to these activities together with the undergrad students. It was great because they felt really great to be together with the students there and sharing this experience with also the students staying in Rome for a semester.
Yeah, I should mention again, some of these activities are especially designed for the adult study abroad group. It'll be just for you. For example, one of the first activities we did this year, we went to an Italian jazz night. It was an open air concert in front of the Roman Colosseum. It was a really beautiful setting. You could listen to the jazz music, have a drink. It was very nice. And we just did that as an adult study abroad group the first week of classes. Meanwhile, the wine tasting was shared with the undergraduates, while the cooking class was private for the adult study abroad group. So we had a mix of both. I mentioned before, we also have some optional supplements, and I want to speak briefly about this because I want to make sure we have time to invite our guests into the webinar as well. There are optional classes in addition to those two base classes that you can choose to enroll in for an additional fee, or if you want to have a less of a time commitment, you can decide not to enroll. It's up to you. We designed the program this way so it'd be as flexible as possible. The supplemental course option changes a little bit whether you come in the spring, May, June, or the fall, September, October. In the spring, we have a 6-week intensive summer program, which overlaps perfectly with the adult study abroad program, meaning if you like, you could actually audit a undergraduate course alongside our undergraduate students while you're here doing the adult study abroad program. This is great if you really want to take a deep dive into a subject of your choosing. 2022, the undergraduate catalog is not yet finalized, and we still have to look at scheduling in particular. But some of the courses that may be a great option, if you're interested in that, the Art of Sacred Spaces, an art history course, a children's literature course, printmaking, if you're interested in getting into an art studio, digital photography, cultural heritage preservation, and a course on organized crime, which is always quite popular with our students. In the fall, we have a 4-month semester, so it's not possible to audit an entire undergraduate course while you're here. So instead, what we do is we create supplemental courses that are uniquely designed for the adult study abroad cohort, but that are based in our longer undergraduate courses. So for example, this year we had Neighborhoods of Modern Rome with our architecture professor, Andrew Kranis, and we got some really great feedback about that class. And then we also have, depending on what people are interested, there are a few other courses that we've proposed doing. We didn't do it in 2021, but we could in the future consider a studio art option, a food culture option, and human rights, social justice in the Mediterranean. These are things that we've talked about doing if there's enough interest, if we have a big enough group. But Neighborhoods of Modern Rome is a course that was really successful this year, and we expect to repeat it in future years as well. And here's a picture of Professor Andrew Kranis on site in the city of Rome. This course, Neighborhoods of Modern Rome, was kind of about modern architecture, urban development throughout the city, and you can see them here walking through the city with their professor. Final option is the MidProgram Excursion. This is a weekend trip organized as a group. A few possible destinations next year, but we especially want to repeat the trip we did in 2021. Everyone had a really great time. We went to the town of Sorrento, and from there we visited Pompeii, Naples, and the archaeological park of Paestum. And you can see this is a picture. Believe it or not, this day it was supposed to rain. The forecast said it was going to rain all day, and we got one of the most beautiful days of the semester. This was the very first weekend in October. We really lucked out, and it was a really great trip. And so this was a mix of, we had a lot of great tours with our faculty member, Anna Tuxkala, You can see there by the tree. And we also had some great meals together as a group. We also had some day trips, some Friday excursions, which I'll talk about later. And here, some of our participants, you can see them at the Villa d'Este in Tivoli, which is about an hour outside of Rome. So before I invite our guests into the webinar to join us and to talk about their own experience last year, I do want to address the question that I'm sure everyone is thinking right now, and that is, how much does the program cost? It's the number one question on everyone's mind. And so I'm just going to get into it. The prices are right here on the next slide. Oh, if it'll work. The base program for the 6 weeks is $3,000 US. And then we have a series of optional prices here below for those course supplements. Again, you can choose to enroll in these supplements or not. You'll notice there's a slight difference between the auditor's fee in the spring and the supplemental course fee in the fall, and that is because of the sheer amount of contact time. There's a difference, and we wanted to acknowledge that difference. You'll spend more time in the classroom in the spring auditing an undergraduate course than you would in the fall taking one of the specially designed courses. I should especially mention housing and airfare are not included. We're not able to provide student housing for this program. And the reason is simple. By taking ourselves out of the equation, we think that we can help you find better housing solutions at a cheaper price than if we put ourselves into the middle. This is the reality of the situation. We host a series of pre-departure orientation meetings on Zoom in the months leading up to program departure after applications come in and we start enrollment. And we can offer a lot of guidance on where to look, how to look, what to look for. But ultimately, it'll be up to you to book the housing on your own. And again, we're going to be joined with some of our alumni in just a minute or two, and they'll be able to talk about their own housing solutions in Rome. Again, those are the base rates, but I want to mention that we have lots of discounts available. And these discounts are applied to the base program fee, that the big fee up top. For Temple University and Temple Rome alumni, we have lots of Temple Rome alumni who maybe didn't go to Temple University main campus, but came from one of our partner schools. We offer 15% off the base program fee, which is, already a substantial chunk. Buddy discount. So if you're in a group of 2 or more, so if you're coming with a partner or spouse or a friend or someone that you're signing up for the program with, you mention this on your application and you can get 10% off both of your registrations. We're also offering a special discount to Temple University senior scholars and Osher lifelong learning participants. It's going to be a flat rate discount that is equal to your registration fee from 2021-22. So for example, if you signed up for a senior scholars course, a single senior scholars course, I believe about $250 this year, and you're not eligible for the alumni discount, we can write that off. And the same principle applies to the OLLI participants. Right. But I should mention these discounts do not accumulate, are not cumulable. Okay, I know someone raised their hand, but we do have a time issue here, so we're going to try to get to our guests, and we'll stay on the line to answer any questions you might have just afterwards. So Emily, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Do you think you could find our guests for us in the webinar and bring them up to the panel?
Yes. We have Susan.
We have Roberta and Susan.
Roberta Parker, correct?
Yeah.
They should both be panelists now.
All right. Roberta, are you there? Is your video working, Roberta?
I am. Looks like I'm just a blank screen here. Hold on one second. How do I do this?
There should be an option to start your video.
Start my video. Here we go. There I am.
There you are. Hello, Roberta.
Hello.
Ciao,
Hello,
Susan.
everybody.
Welcome back.
Nice seeing you.
It's nice to see you.
Oh,
it's
man.
great to have you back with us.
Oh, well, thank you. It's a joy to be able to promote this program.
And ciao, Susan. How you doing?
Ciao, ciao. Hi, AJ. Hi, Johnny. I miss you guys. Hi, Mary. Hi, Emily.
Hey, Susan.
Ciao.
So I have a few questions for both of you guys to talk about the experience. Roberta, this was your first time coming to Temple Rome, right? You're an alum of the law school, but it was your first time at Temple University Rome, right?
That is correct.
So maybe I could ask you a few questions about what your first experience was like. And Susan, because you participated in both editions of Adult Study Abroad, maybe I could ask you about some of the changes you saw as the programs developed from the first edition of 2019. So Roberta, maybe you could start out by just telling us a little bit about yourself. Where are you based? What did you do? And how did you get interested in signing up for Adult Study Abroad in Rome in the first place?
Yes. Hi, I'm Roberta Parker. I live in Baltimore, Maryland, partly retired. And I was looking for something to spark my interest. The quote that I like is always, you can grow old or you can be old. And you can't help but growing old every day, right? But I never want to be old. So I was looking for some sort of program where I could learn, I could grow. And I will tell you, if anyone is considering this program, run, do not walk to sign up, because this was a phenomenal experience all the way around.
That's wonderful. It's always great to hear feedback like that, Roberto. But could you tell us a little bit more about the details of the experience? Like, we did so much in the 6 weeks that you were here, between the classes and the trips and the activities with Johnny. I was wondering if you could just talk about some of the moments that that really stand out in your memory.
Yes, absolutely. First off, I want to say this is for dollar. This is one of the most reasonably priced programs you could ever attend. It is very, very inclusive. The extras don't cost too much more, but compared to some of even the tourist experiences out there, this is really reasonable. I want to say one thing, that if anybody's concerned about the following: traveling by themselves, COVID, or crime, do not worry. Those were my three biggest concerns before I came, because I knew I was going to be traveling by myself. Rome is incredibly safe as a city, far safer than where I live in Baltimore. And in addition to that, people in Italy take COVID prevention very seriously. Once again, I came back to Baltimore and I was stunned that most people weren't wearing masks inside. So everyone wears masks inside. To sit inside in a restaurant, you have to show your CDC or your green card. In crowded places outside, people put their masks on. It's safer than, quite frankly, than in the Baltimore, Maryland area in terms of COVID prevention. And I think AJ had mentioned about, getting tested there. Every street corner, every corner is a mobile tent for the rapid test. So when you're ready to fly back home, you go there. It's a quick, simple, easy process. But yeah, talking about the classes, wow. I went there expecting that the classes were going to be in the classroom, and I'm thinking, man, I'm old. How am I going to pay attention for all these hours in the classroom? Well, that didn't work. 1 day a week for Italian, and we are all suggesting more than 1 day a week for Italian in classroom, but everything else was out walking, which is a real good way to learn, especially if you have ADHD like me. So you learn by walking, and the teachers point out different things. You're getting your exercise. I got a lot of miles in a 2-month time period, and it's the way to go. So the professors were wonderful. They gave us a lot of information. Those Wednesday night programs were a hoot. We got to do the wine tasting. We got to do the pasta making, print making. Paper making. I had never made paper before, and it was really, really cool to do. The weekend trip to Sorrento, Pompeii, outstanding. And then we also had the day trip to Villa d'Este and Tivoli. And that was with the undergrads. And that was a lot of fun because you got to interact with the undergrads. So all the way around, I learned so much. I had so much fun. I made such good connections. Such good friends on the program. In fact, one of them is going to come and visit a couple weeks from now. So that's wonderful. What did I miss? What else do you want me to cover?
That was pretty thorough, Roberta. Thanks so much for that.
Welcome.
I had a whole list of questions for you and you addressed a lot of them. I was just going to ask you about some of your classmates. But speaking of your classmates, maybe I can invite Susan. You know, one thing that people always write me with worrying about, and Roberta, I'd be curious to hear your perspective too, but Susan, could you talk about the housing aspect? A lot of people are worried about finding housing on their own. You've done it twice now. And I was just wondering if you could, you know, kind of ease some of the concerns people might have about finding housing in Rome for while they're here.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, as AJ said, I've done the program twice. I did it in 2019 when it was taking classes with the undergrads. So it was for the undergrads, they were doing a summer session, 14 weeks condensed into 6 weeks. And I did that 6 weeks with them and took courses with them. The second time was this past fall with Roberta, and there were 10 of us, I guess, Roberta, right? I think there were 10 of us in our own program. Both times I found housing on my own prior to arrival. It wasn't hard at all. I got some great advice from AJ and Johnny and some of the other people at school as to what neighborhoods would be the best. Everyone suggested Prati, which is immediately across the river from Temple's campus in the neighborhood between Temple and the Vatican. Very safe, kind of upscale, very neighborhoody, not very touristy, lots of, you know, charming little trattorias and restaurants. I didn't feel like I was being gouged with tourist prices, and I felt like everything was very authentic, and I really enjoyed that. So I know some people did choose to live in the historic center where there are more tourists, but of course, you know, there's advantages to that too. You're closer to all of the museums and all of the sites. You're just a few steps away. I got really good at taking buses and subways. I could get anywhere I wanted in the city in under a half an hour with my bus pass, with my Metro pass. And for me, that worked really well.
Right. Roberta, you were one of the participants who lived in the center, right? You want to talk about your accommodations?
Yeah, absolutely. I found my accommodations on Airbnb. And what I like to do in any city I go to is wander around in the evening. So for me, I really wanted to be in the historic center. And where I was right next to the Spanish Steps, literally a stone's throw from the Spanish Steps. And I was within 5 minutes of the Trevi Fountain, within 10 minutes of the Pantheon, Piazza Navona. So all of the big historical, 15 minutes from the Colosseum. So I like in the evening to go out wandering, because to me, what is a beauty about a city, and particularly about Rome, is you go and you wander and you sit down at a cafe and you have an aperitivo or something to eat, and you people watch and you listen to people talk and you just soak in the flavor. And I will tell you, Rome is very much a evening and nighttime city. Everyone is out. Everyone is walking around. It really is the dolce vita, sitting there, eating, talking, enjoying life. And that's what I really love. So my place that I found was, close to everything. I could still do the metro places, but most of the time I actually walked everywhere that I needed to get to. But it was very easy finding it. Obviously in the center areas, probably can be a little bit more expensive than some outlying areas. But, I throw out my name if anybody wants any help when it comes time to looking for housing. I can give them my ideas.
Roberta, can I ask you a question? Because there are some questions in the chat. They're asking about the price. More or less, how much is the price for I don't know how big your apartment was, but you went through Airbnb and you checked many apartments. How much was it, more or less, to give an idea to people watching about accommodation in Rome, central Rome?
Okay, I will say.
Sorry. For my 2 years that I was there, I had apartment by myself. I didn't share. I had a 1-bedroom apartment, a good size. And in both years, I was between like 1,800 and 2,000 a month. So this was 6 weeks. So say between, it's like.
Dollars, Susan?
Pardon?
Dollars? Or
Yeah,
you-
dollars,
okay.
sorry, yeah, dollars. So like $1,800 to $2,000 per month. So let's say max $3,000 for the full.
All included, right? You're talking about
Yeah, electricity, utilities, everything. I had a beautiful apartment with an enormous balcony that looked out over the Vatican. It was, I mean, I didn't have to spend that much. You can certainly do it for a lot less, but I really loved having the outdoor space. That was really important to me.
Just to give, and Roberta, you actually roomed with someone from the program you met during the pre-departure, and you split an apartment. So what was that in terms of cost?
Yeah, and I will say I went a little bit high end, and that was because what was really important to me was kind of what Susan said, having a balcony. So I had this huge balcony that overlooked Villa Borghese Gardens and the Spanish Steps and the church near the Spanish Steps. So that was really important to me. And it was a huge 2-bedroom, 2 baths, 2 bedrooms. And it was $4,000 a piece. So it was $8,000 total, which is probably on the higher end. But I will say, even on the Airbnb, the reason why I had to go that high end, I waited a little bit too long to actually grab some of the places. And some of the places were getting rented out underneath me. So most of the places were much cheaper, a total of like, $5,000-6,000 for the whole 2 months. Oh, I also want to add that I was actually there an extra 3 weeks. So that factors into it too. I wasn't just there for 6 weeks. I was there in essence for 9 weeks.
Yeah, and I should mention, a lot of people ran their apartments by me. We had some participants this year who wanted just like a simpler, even a studio or something. And I had someone send me an apartment that was in a pretty nice location, easily located campus. It was a small studio, but it was very functional. And I think that was about $1,000 per month for the small studio. So we have a big range. It really depends on what you're looking for. And that's part of the reason why we kind of removes ourselves from the housing equation, because you can see it's not a one-size-fits-all solution. We have people who prefer to have a smaller, more functional place, save money. We have people who want to be more comfortable, more central, et cetera. And so you're able to do that, and we'll give you as much guidance as we can. We are getting to the end of the webinar here. So very quick, if I can just ask both Susan and Roberta, would you do it again? Would you come back to Rome? Will you come back to Rome?
I'm definitely coming back. I've already done 2 years. I'm like a permanent student there now. So yeah, I'll be back.
Well, I am definitely coming back. And in fact, I already started my Italian tutoring classes so that I'll be better prepared next year to come back.
That's great. I know you mentioned that in an email. I was very excited to hear that you've continued your Italian studies. I know we're getting to the end of the hour. I'll be happy to stay on the line a little bit longer to answer questions for people. So please don't worry. If you need to run, of course, you can always email me. We can set up a time to talk about the program. Really, I want to make sure that we're able to answer everyone's questions that you might have before you sign up. But I want to give you the brief timeline. Next steps, if you're really interested in joining the program for 2022. If you haven't already, join our Temple Rome specific, our adult study abroad specific email list. We're only able to email the entire Temple University alumni group every so often. To get the most up-to-date information, it's best to be on our specific adult study abroad list. We're going to open applications this year in mid-December. And then we're going to process those applications on a rolling basis. You should start hearing back from us in January after we return from the holidays. That's when we'll start being able to process some of those applications. There is no application fee. Enrollment for the spring cohort, which is May and June, will be open February to March. There's some flexibility, but it'll be February to March, maybe late January, depending on how quickly we can process the applications. And the fall enrollment will open at the same time, more or less, maybe a month later in March, and continue on a rolling basis through July. I saw someone ask before about a maximum number of participants. We're looking for about 20 to 25 participants in each cohort next year, but we certainly would not accept more than 30. This year we had a small cohort, we had 10 people, it was one group, and next year, it depends, of course, on how many people sign up, but we would potentially have, it doesn't mean you're going to be in a classroom with 30 people, we'd probably have 2 classrooms of 15 in that case, but just so you know about how the groups might work out for 2022. So applications in December, processing in January going forward. Deposit is due when you enroll to reserve your spot in the program. That's 10% of the base program fee. And then the rest of the fees can come later. And as soon as enrollment opens, we're going to start holding those pre-departure virtual orientation sessions. So to address many of your questions prior to coming to Rome. So I know that's a lot of information. We're going to be updating our website with a lot of more details in the next few weeks. We're also producing, I think, hopefully a little teaser video about the program soon, and some other materials with all the great content we've collected in the last few weeks. But now, of course, I want to dedicate some time to answering questions. You can ask questions to me, to Johnny, my colleagues, Roberta and Susan, if you're able to stay on the line. I think people might have some questions to ask you guys as well. Also, I want to mention our contact information. Here's the Adult Study Abroad webpage. Here is the Adult Study Abroad email address. And this is my personal email address in case you have any technical problems with the departmental address. This is me, aj.fitzgerald@temple.edu. And this is how you can subscribe to our mailing list. Emily, you've been looking at the chat. Are there any questions that keep popping up that we should answer right off the bat?
Yeah, I have quite a few questions, and like you said, we can email people specifically for questions that maybe just apply to them for any special circumstances. So my first question would be, how have working adults in the past generally made room for the study abroad program? Do folks usually take unpaid time off?
So this past year, we had someone who was actually a community college teacher come and do the program with us. And she actually worked remotely while she was here in Rome, and she was lucky. She's in California, which means the classes, her morning classes in California, were in the evening here in Rome. And so she was done with her adult study abroad, obligations, usually by the time class started, and she would sign in the evening and teach her class. We try to keep the program a part-time time commitment or less. You're in the classroom in the base program about 12 hours per week. And obviously you have some other time commitments in there as well. You have the weekly extracurricular events, but the base program is about 12 hours per week in the class. And then you can build from there in terms of the supplements. In terms of unpaid time off, paid time off, I don't know if I can answer exactly about everybody's personal situation, but I can say that in the past, we've seen people who continue to work, at least on a part-time basis, while they're here in Rome with us.
Great, thank you. And I have a few questions about refunds due to COVID if the program were to be canceled.
If we cancel the program due to COVID, we would issue refunds as we did in 2020. We had people sign up and pay deposits in 2020, and we had to cancel that program, and we did issue refunds to everyone. We are hoping that certainly won't come to pass, but if we are forced from our side to cancel the program, we would issue refunds. If we go ahead with the program, and some people may make a personal decision not to come, but that's a separate situation. But we don't expect to cancel the program next year. Like I said before, the situation in Italy right now is looking optimistic. Certainly, we have to get through this winter period and the flu season and see how we come out on the other side. So we're going to be following the situation very closely. But we've already done it once, and we did it safely. As Roberta mentioned, she felt very safe during her time here, and we expect to be able to do it safely next spring as well. But of course, we will follow the situation very closely as we have for the last 2 years now. So other questions, Emily?
Yeah, I have a lot of questions, so we'll go on as for as long as we are able to. I have a couple questions about courses. Do students arrive on campus each day and go out from there, or do they go directly to the on-site courses?
A lot of times they go directly to their on-site course. You can have a meeting place in your syllabus for each site visit, so that it's not necessary to travel to campus and then to the site visit each day. So, you know, for someone like Roberta, being in the center of the city actually was probably pretty convenient because you could walk to a lot of those site visits very easily. So the commute, it's nice to think about the commute to campus when you're selecting housing, but that's not the commute you're going to be doing every single day when your classes are on site.
And would it be possible to take any 4-credit classes? I know you mentioned auditing.
Not at this time, no.
Okay.
Unless you enroll in Temple University. But that would be our regular undergraduate program.
Great, thank you. And then a couple questions about those from those who speak Italian already. So just confirming that it is possible to do the Italian language and culture course at a C2 level? At a C2 level, no, that is going to be very high. I've had some people contact me about special situations. So if you've already been in contact me about that, we're open to lots of ideas, but I don't want to misrepresent the program. This is not primarily an intensive language program. C2 is higher than C2 is very high level. It's basically a native speaker. And this is not quite that. Maybe we can come up with creative solutions in terms of independent studies, et cetera. But the base program is for more introductory level of Italian. I am only a C1 level in Italian. I've been living here for 5 years. So just to give you an idea of how advanced that really is. Typically, I would say even our undergraduates, the most advanced undergraduates are typically around a B2 level, maybe C1, some of the really good ones. And then I have a couple questions about bringing families. Can participants bring spouses and children? Is that feasible? I mean, if you want to bring your spouse or children to Rome and have them, well, again, they can participate in the program or not. In order to participate in the program, you have to enroll in the program. But again, it's not like we're offering student housing here. So if you want to bring your family to Rome with you, you certainly can. Children, I'm not sure I can really talk about the different, what might be possible in terms of, I think I saw a question in the chat about enrolling children in school. I think that's beyond my scope to answer at this time, but it's not like we would disallow you from doing anything like that. It's just, there may be a limit to how much support we could give you in making those arrangements. Great, thank you. Sorry, I'm looking through all of the questions. Is there an estimate for meals? I mean, Roberta, maybe you could talk about this, but I think food in general is a lot cheaper in Italy than in the US. So
yeah, a lot cheaper than in the US. I mean, you could go for a pastry and a cappuccino, and it's about, it could be equivalent of $2, $2.50, as opposed to going to Starbucks where it's going to be an arm and a leg. A big plate of pasta. There was one place near the university where it was €5. So about, $6 or so for a huge plate of pasta. You go for a slice of pizza, it's next to nothing. So very, very cheap. And if you go to the grocery store, and I will tell you, there are grocery stores all over the place. And some of them are 24/7. They have very fresh vegetables, fresh meat, fresh cold cuts. It's even cheaper there. I mean, literally, I found bottles of wine that were on sale for $2.50, and they actually were pretty good. So yeah, everything is very cheap food-wise.
From eating out to groceries at the local markets and stuff, I think you'll find that the cost of living in Italy is cheap. For the housing is usually cheaper as well, but obviously for 6 weeks, you're not looking at the regular housing market. You're looking at sort of a short-term housing market that is maybe more expensive than normal. But thank you, Roberta, for that context. I'm looking at some of the other questions in the Q&A section. I don't know if there are questions hiding in the chat. There's a lot of messages that I haven't been able to look at while I'm working the slides. The applications will go on line on an online platform on Temple University's non-credit website. So you'll have to create an account at the non-credit website and submit your application that way. There's another important question here about health insurance. We recommend that all travelers purchase travel insurance for the duration of their stay here. And we'll be able to offer some suggestions for travel insurance programs that our students and faculty use, that are accepted at some of the local international hospitals, et cetera. But it is emergency healthcare, you don't pay for in Italy. But if you want to see a specialist or something like that, a travel insurance plan could potentially cover that. And we had people who went to see, you know, like a specialist, and their insurance covered it, and it made things a lot easier.
Regarding the other question in the Q&A, I had a couple similar to it. Are all of the Wednesday night events included in the price, or do you charge separately for them? And is it possible to just pay for some specific events?
The Wednesday night events are all included in the base program. So we have the base program, you have 2 classes, Highlights of Rome, Italian Language and Culture, and then 1 weekly extracurricular event, like the cooking class, like the wine tasting, like the Italian jazz night. Those are all included in the base fee. I see a question about maybe having a spouse who's not fully enrolled in the program, but maybe joining some of those events. And I would say, you know, reach out to me and we can talk about arranging that. But generally, we try to be open and flexible. But again, if you're going to be in the program, you have to be enrolled in the program. But in terms of having spouses and family members joining, we had that in special cases this past semester. We had people visiting Rome, and so we'd have to talk about that separately.
Right, but in general, children, it would be difficult for us to host children.
Yes, yes. It would be difficult for us to have children attending some of these events and trips and things like that. But if they're going to be with you in Rome, not necessarily attending the events, that's a separate thing.
Hey, Jay, can I just interject something about
Of course.
healthcare and medical? There was one gal who was on our trip who had 2 separate incidents. One was kind of, she got scraped by some coral or sea urchin or something. And then she also later had like a cold or a flu. And she was very, very happy with the level of healthcare that you were able to arrange for her. So it was quick, simple, easy. She got the tests that she needed. She got the treatment that she needed. So if anybody's concerned about, oh my gosh, I'm going to be overseas and what is it going to be like if I get sick, her experience was very positive.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you,
Right.
Roberta. In relating to that question, that discussion, what kinds of help can Temple offer regarding if someone contracted COVID and needed medical care?
Can you repeat that, Emily?
What kinds of help can we offer if someone were to get COVID and needed medical care?
We can certainly offer help in coordinating with medical staff. We can provide help in coordinating food deliveries and things like that. A lot of travel insurance programs specifically have this included now, in terms of, even it's not even about medical care, but what if you need to quarantine? What if you have to change your flights because you test positive, et cetera? So this is a really important reason to get the health insurance. We can provide support in coordinating these things, but generally, I don't want to overpromise our ability to. We're not necessarily going to be able to deliver meals ourselves to people who are in quarantine because they've tested positive, but we're not going to leave you completely alone either to navigate, a strange healthcare system without any assistance or without any translation, et cetera. So I don't want to overpromise in this situation, but also I want to mention that we are here and we have a lot of resources, and we can connect you with a lot of resources to make the situation less stressful and more comfortable.
Thank you. And then I have a couple of more specific questions if we have a little bit of time, just a few of them.
Sure.
Do you need to participate in Ali at Temple or anywhere to receive the discount?
Oh, I answered that already in the chat, but the discount is for
sorry.
Temple University affiliated Ali members.
Okay. And how are participants selected? I believe it's first come, first serve, correct?
Right.
It's a lot of it is first come, first serve in terms of the enrollment. And in terms of applications and selection, we also have to consider sort of balancing cohorts in terms of Italian language level, things like that. If we have people in an intermediate level, introductory level, we can't have a class of 25 people in the introductory level and 2 people in the advanced level. But generally the application process is quite simple. You don't have to write essays. You don't have to submit transcripts or test scores or anything like that.
And then is this an opportunity that tuition remission can be used towards if you're a Temple faculty or staff member?
We would offer the Temple alumni discount if you're a Temple
Yeah, but
faculty or
tuition
staff member.
remission does not apply because
Mhm.
it's not for academic credit.
Mhm.
In terms of courses, is there much on the history of Italy from unification on?
We do. I don't know if we have it in the summer though.
We do not have that in the summer. We do have it in the fall. And if there were enough interest, we could think about for the late summer session, adding that.
Yeah, we could think about maybe putting in together one of those mini courses if there are a lot of people interested in the topic. Yeah.
Andrew's class was all a unification on.
Oh, so you talked about a lot of these topics while you're doing. Oh, okay.
No, his class started in the 1870s and went forward from there. It was fascinating because it wasn't an area that I had ever studied before. So it was terrific. That was the architecture class.
Yeah. I have a question about class size, and we're only going to take 1 or 2 more questions because I know I got to run and some of our colleagues have to run, but my email is here and we can continue this conversation whenever you like. This one is important about class sizes. Ideally, we wouldn't want the individual class sizes, even if the cohort is 30, we wouldn't want a class size to get much bigger than 15 because we think, especially when you're going on site and going to museums and stuff, it starts to get a little bit unwieldy when you're bigger than that. So we're going to have to see what the numbers look like, but that's ideally, you know, if we had a big cohort, we would split it into 2 groups of 15. At the minimum, the group we had this year, which was 10, is about the smallest cohort we could probably accommodate.
David also asked, do any of the faculty or other permanent employees there offer rooms to rent?
Not that I know of on the moment, but you know, through our Temple network, if we find of any housing available to rent, we can certainly share that with everyone.
And then my final question that I've seen in the chat in the Q&A box is, does Temple have any other campuses abroad, and is the Adult Study Abroad program offered at these campuses?
We do have other campuses abroad. We have Temple University Tokyo. It is a personal dream of mine that one day we might have a similar program in Tokyo, but Tokyo doesn't necessarily know that yet.
Well, they're starting to know it. They're starting to get a sense of it. We have started the conversation.
So maybe stay tuned. That would be really cool. I would love if we could have this program be that, you know, you have an opportunity to come to Rome and study abroad with us, and then also study abroad in Tokyo or vice versa. But at the moment, we just have Temple University Rome.
Start with Rome for the moment.
Yeah.
Come to Rome.
So it is getting a little bit late. So I want to thank everyone who stayed on the webinar. Again, if you have more questions, my email's here on the screen. So please feel free to reach out. I'm really happy to chat. If you have a lot of specific questions, maybe we can even set up a Zoom call and I can briefly try to answer that. Maybe it's even easier sometimes than doing things by email. So really, it would be great to hear from you. Look to our website for those new updates. We're going to try to put as much information online as we can in the next few weeks. And we really look forward to hearing from you guys and hopefully welcoming everyone to Rome sometime soon. So thanks again for tuning in. Thanks to all of our panelists. Thanks, Johnny, for being a wonderful host. Thanks to Roberta and Susan for joining us. Emily for helping with the chat. And of course, thanks to Mary for stopping by and welcoming everyone and supporting this program as she has for the last few years. So thanks again, everyone.
Ciao. Ciao, ciao.
Ciao.
Ciao, everyone.